There always seems to be a lively debate about whether you should breastfeed or formula feed your twins. Advances in nutrition and science have made baby formula a pretty good substitute for breast milk. However, breast milk from mother is still the best food for your infant twins. The question about whether you should breastfeed or bottle feed your twins ultimately comes down to logistics. Let's talk about some of those pros and cons and how you can decide what's best for you, your twins, and your family. Breastfeeding your babies has a lot of benefits. Breastfeeding twins has advantages for you as well, Dad. In particular, if mom is breastfeeding the babies, you don't have to buy formula. That's a lot of money that you can save. When mom is breastfeeding babies, oftentimes, Dad, you don't have to do a lot. You are not physically going to breastfeed your children. However, you may be on the side helping mom with the babies, and we'll get to that in a moment. Another advantage of breastfeeding over bottle feeding is you don't have to mess with all of those bottles, all the nipples, all the parts, and get those clean, washed, and ready every time you feed your twins. The reality is that breast milk is the best for your babies. However, the decision to breastfeed your twins really comes down to discussion with you and your partner. Dad, you cannot force your wife to breastfeed the twins no matter how much you want that to happen. Ultimately, you need to go with whatever decision she wants to go with. Let's talk about if you choose to breastfeed your twins and some of the challenges and opportunities that this presents for you and your babies. Breastfeeding twins by yourself is not a simple task. It will take some patience, some trial and error, and practice to make it work. It will require teamwork between you and your partner to make sure the logistics around feeding those babies goes as smoothly as possible. So Dad, you need to make sure that mom is as comfortable as possible when it's time to breastfeed those babies. Make sure she's got her pillows, her support, and encourage her every step of the way. Make sure you talk to mom while she's feeding. Encourage her, tell her that she's doing a great job, that you appreciate the service she's doing for your family. Pay her sincere compliments. She and her body are doing a very hard thing by feeding these babies. When the babies are done eating, Dad, you can help with the changing, the burping, and the feeding. Everything that goes around feeding, you can help with those tasks. Make sure mom is getting plenty to eat and to drink, especially water. That'll help sustain her body physically. In the beginning of breastfeeding, it may take some coaching, some help, some trial and error, but it won't take too long before mom has got the hang of breastfeeding, and she'll be a master of breastfeeding both babies simultaneously without any help. Breastfeeding is a physical and emotional burden on mom. So I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, that only breastfeed your twins if mom is fully on board with that decision. Countless twin moms have successfully breastfed their twins. The key to successful breastfeeding of your twins is to be flexible. Always have a plan B. Try it, see if it's working. If it's not working, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to try something different. Remember, the only right solution is the one that works for you and your twins. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad if breastfeeding doesn't work. Celebrate the successes that you have along the way, the things that you're learning, and that day by day you're helping your twins grow and develop. Bottle feeding is a very viable option for parents of twins. Now that bottle may be full of breast milk that has been pumped, or it may be full of formula. Either way, bottle feeding is a viable option for feeding your twins. One of the great things that I love as a dad with bottle feeding is that I get to participate. I get to participate fully in the feeding experience. I can take one of my babies, help bottle feed her, and my wife can take the other. Or I can feed both babies with bottles at the same time. But it's an opportunity for me to participate and to bond with my twins as opposed to breastfeeding where I'm only on the periphery helping to support my wife and the babies. If you're switching from breastfeeding to bottle feeding, or as you make that transition, remember there's going to be a lot of extra overhead as far as time and cleaning and preparing the bottles. You're going to have dozens of bottles and the components scattered all over your kitchen and throughout your house. It's important that you keep on top of keeping those clean and sanitized so they're always available for the next feeding. Remember that every set of twins is different and every family situation is different. And so how you're going to feed your babies really depends on your twins, their dispositions, their health, mom's health, the circumstances, family life, work schedules, and on and on. All of these can weigh in heavily on if you are successful in breastfeeding or successful in bottle feeding your twins. I want to share what happened with our girls. We had every intention to breastfeed our twins when we brought them home. My wife started practicing that in the hospital after they were delivered. But we had one challenge after another. Our girls were born with short frenulums. That's a little piece of tissue that connects the tongue to the bottom of the mouth. And basically they were tongue-tied, which made it really hard for them to latch on to the breast to get a good suck and get the milk that they needed during breastfeeding. We didn't know that was the problem until almost a month had passed after their birth. During that month, we struggled with getting the girls to latch, getting them to get enough food to eat. In fact, we resorted to getting a breast pump from the hospital so that my wife could pump and supplement our girls' diet. Our girls' health challenges was just one aspect of the challenges that we had with breastfeeding. The second was the fact that we had two very active boys in our home. When our girls were born, we had 2 other boys, ages 3 and 18 months. And so what would happen is that when mom would sit down to breastfeed, and she would be able to get them latched on and get them going, or she needed to focus her attention on them, what would happen? Our boys would like run circles around mom. And in so doing, that would distract the sisters. They'd be like, hey, what's going on? What? You know, they would pull off the latch and my wife would have to start all over. Or alternatively, my boys would realize mom is busy. She's not getting out of that chair. She's got her hands full with the girls. And so they would run off to another part of the house and start to wreak havoc. And so hearing those sounds of distress or chaos or crashing in other parts of the house was always an interruption to breastfeeding. If my wife could feed one baby at a time, she was more able to give attention to the boys to make sure they were behaving properly. But then she was only able to feed one baby at a time. And it kind of stretched out the time that feedings were going on in the house and shortened the amount of time that we were able to get anything else done. We wanted to keep the babies on the same schedule. But to do that, we had to sync up their feedings. And simultaneous breastfeeding just wasn't working in our family. So after lots of thought, discussion, and even tears, we decided, okay, what's best for the family is going to be to switch to bottle feeding. And when your plans don't quite go as you're expecting, when you have to change course, that's okay too. I've interviewed and talked with countless other parents of twins who've gone through similar transitions from what they were expecting to do when the twins were born to what they actually worked for them and their twins. Many of them started out breastfeeding and that was able to continue for months. Other times they started with breastfeeding and it just didn't work and they had to switch to bottle feeding. The amount of time that they were able to breastfeed varied from just a few weeks to several months. Just remember, if you want to breastfeed your twins, by all means, you can do it. There are countless other mothers of twins who have successfully breastfed their twins for varying degrees of time. It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be till they go back to work or more. You need to try out different methods, see what's going to work for you and your family, and stick with that as long as it is working. So I repeat, because this is so important, whatever works for your family is the right choice. That is the right decision, period. No matter what you're seeing other families do, no matter what other parents of twins are able to do, what works for you and your family is the right decision. Don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty that you're not able to do what you've seen other people do. What's working for you and your twins is the most important thing. And it may not be what you're planning initially. So whether to breastfeed or bottle feed is a big decision, and the choice comes up to you and your partner to make that decision. Now, regardless of the choice that you make, Dad, you have to be a good support and a help to your spouse. If mom is breastfeeding, you have to be the assistant. You bring the babies to mommy. You take them away to burp and to change them. You bring burp cloths to clean up the inevitable messes and spit ups. If you're bottle feeding, you and your spouse are going to have plenty of opportunities to bottle feed those twins together or by yourself. Getting those babies to learn how to feed and to master the system of feeding them simultaneously is a challenge. But take heart, you're going to get into a good rhythm. Eventually it'll become second nature. And the beauty of babies is that they grow and they continue to become more and more self-sufficient. And eventually you're going to be able to make up a bottle and hand it to those babies, and they're going to be able to take that bottle and drink it all by themselves. My wife tells me that that was the happiest day of her life up to that point, where she can make the bottle and give it to the girls and they can eat. So what's worked for you in feeding your twins? Were you able to breastfeed, bottle feed? How did you make those decisions? And when did it come time to transition from one to the other? Why don't you leave your thoughts in the comments so other parents of twins can learn from your experience? As you know, the twin journey is not an easy one, and being a parent of twins deserves celebration. As such, you should pick up a shirt like this one, Twin Papa Bear shirt. And you can get that shirt just like this. I have a twin papa version and a twin mama version for you and your partner over at twint-shirtcompany.com. To help you get through the challenges and trials of raising twins, check out some of these other videos with practical tips and tricks for raising your twins.